Hey guys, Analog Man here for another deck profile, and of course, as you can see from the title, it is a Machinedramon deck profile. As most people that have been watching my channel know, that I've been trying to essentially fix Machinedramon to essentially get it to be competitively viable. My previous attempt was mixing in red removal, which actually did see some success. I did actually manage to do pretty well against most of my friends' decks. It's just the only decks I usually lost to were, of course, red, because being that this deck is usually a black base deck, it's still much slower than a lot of the meta decks at the moment, like Bond of Friendship and Bond of Courage and all that stuff. So it's just this deck still needs a lot of essentially power to get it going, and I think I finally found a way to do it. Since the deck does take time to set up, why not basically play towards that slow aspect of it? Let it turn it into essentially a control deck where it can take its time and just do whatever without having to worry. Because that was the main issue with the original build of Black Machinedramon that I had made. It was the issue of setting up Machinedramon, discarding fast enough to essentially have him out on board. And most of the time, my opponent did have an answer to it, usually in the form of de-digivolving or bouncing him, which really sucked, especially if I didn't have a second one. But here with Machinedramon control, you essentially have enough time to set up everything you need and keep your security full and also keep your opponent's board in a decent state where you can at least take advantage of it. So let's actually get into the deck profile so I can show you exactly how this goes. So first off, for the eggs, we're actually running 4 BB-Mons because it's a yellow base. Because with how control decks are lately, they do use a lot of yellow cards. So having this as the baby actually basically guarantees that you'll be seeing that you'll be able to use the control cards to help you heal your security while you essentially build up level 5 cyborgs in your hand and a possible Machinedramon or two in your hand. But yeah, keeping this at just 4 so that you consistently see it. Plus, occasionally when you do swing with it, you do gain the memory, which is really nice. Or actually, wait, no, my bad. This deck just uses it as just the egg. Sorry, I was thinking of my other security control deck, but this one doesn't run Salamon. It runs one particular rookie that actually is in theme with this deck, but you'll see it in a second. That's all the eggs that we run, just 4 of BBMon, that's fine. Let's get into the rookies. For the rookies, we only run 4 actually, and it's specifically the 4 Hagurumons because, as anybody who's played this deck knows, this deck, this card basically just helps you discard anything because it has no level restriction. So it's just any machine or cyborg, and that's about 75% of this deck. So you will get this discard off, and it's a free rookie on the board. So you can summon this, ditch some stuff, maybe memory choke them, and then next turn you just swing with this into their security. That's essentially what he's there to do, just to discard and swing maybe once, and that's about it. That's all the rookies we run in this. For level 4s, we run specifically, we only run one actually. We run specifically Cordramon because, as you know, with this deck, you want to be drawing as much as possible, and this helps with it. And of course, it's an additional body on the board. Considering that it is a security Digimon, so if it's hit in security, it'll just come out and it'll be an extra body to swing for next turn. So kind of keep your opponent kind of pressured a little bit. This is the only security Digimon, but I do feel like it would be nice to run maybe 2, maybe 3 Geo Greys to help kind of get the aggression on board. But that's all the level 4s we run. Let's get into level 5s, of course, because they are the main focus of this deck aside from Machinedramon and getting them into your hand as fast as possible. So let's go into them. First, we run one of the new EX1 Andromon because, of course, it gives blocker to any Digimon that this is attached to, but only on your opponent's turn. Always remember that. Don't think that he has by default blocker all the time. It's just on your opponent's turn. Then we get Metal Tyrannomon, which gives reboot. Metal Mamimon that pops any Digimon with a play cost of 5 or less when you're attacking. we're adding also one Metal Greymon because this does give piercing to Machinedramon, which is always awesome. Volcanomon because Volcanomon gives it the security +1, and most of the time your opponent will forget that they have one Digimon on the field that's unsuspended, or they don't want to risk swinging into security, so you'll basically be guaranteed the security +1 most of the time. Then we have one Megadramon because, of course, this gives also security +1, but if it's a machine, so it's an automatic one no matter what. One Megadramon for blocker. Some builds I've been seeing are running more of these, but I feel with how the Machinedramon deck works, you just need to just have one of each, and it should be fine. It doesn't brick the deck or make it harder to draw it. You will see it no matter what. Then we won one Megadramon to give the +2000 on your turn. And then for the last level 5, we run Gigadramon to give a +2000 on your opponent's turn to potentially boost. For here, we have exactly 9 level 5s. It is kind of low for Machinedramon, but in a security control kind of, or just a control deck variant, you want to go as lean as possible, and this is the least that you can possibly put into the deck before you just won't see them. Here we have just enough so that you'll see them, and you will have enough room for the rest of the deck, essentially. And so far in testing, this actually has turned out really well. There was 1 or 2 moments where basically it was just kind of weird, and I just could not draw into my 5th one. But that was only one of the games. Um, the other times I've tested it, I have drawn into my 5th one pretty quickly. And then just not gotten Machinedramon. It's just kind of weird. It's just the luck of the draw with this deck, but this deck can just kind of chill for a while you do that, and at the same time you're potentially wasting your opponent's resources. So it's very nice. You keep them at bay while you build Machinedramon, basically. But yeah, that's all the level 5s we are running in this deck. For level 6s, we run, of course, this being a control deck and having to essentially stall until you make Machinedramon, we run 3 Magnedramons to heal up when when we don't have Machinedramon and our security is down to 2, we just heal up, and then potentially they can swing into more removal and or more machines that we can use to make Machinedramon. So self-explanatory, really nice card, and it's a pretty big body on board if they can't get rid of it, so also nice. Then, of course, we're running the 4 Machinedramon. I really don't have to say much about this card. This card's super awesome. Basically is a huge blocker, can unsuspend itself. It's on their turn, especially. And in the match, in the lab episode that I actually recorded recently, this actually was really broken because I swung for like 2 security. Like once I got him out, he basically swung for like 2 security in 2 consecutive turns, and my opponent just could not get rid of him. He basically had nothing to get rid of this, so I just kind of sat there and just swung every turn, and I wiped the security in like 3 turns. So really awesome card. That's all the level 6s we run in the deck. For level 7s, we only run the 4 Omnimon's Worth Defeats. I am using the alternate art for this because the other one is already in my other deck, but this guy's really awesome. If he's hitting security, it's pretty cool because then you have another extra body, and if he dies, he deletes something. And the cool thing is that you can evolve him on top of Machinedramon and pop a tamer. The only downside is that with how the level 5 cyborgs are worded in their inherent effects, he will not gain their effects, which sucks, but at the same time you have a huge dude on board, and if you have an extra Machinedramon in hand, you just kind of let him die, and then you just make another Machinedramon next turn. So really solid, always at 4. I love this card. Ever since it came out, this card has won me games so many times, so really solid. That's basically all for the Digimon. The rest of the deck is just basically options and tamers. So let's actually get into that. For options, we are of course running 4 Wyvern's Breath. Really amazing card. Love it when people hit into this, and it's a really it's just an all around really solid card. The fact that it can just minus 15,000, like not many Digimon can get over this unless it's like a red deck, but most decks can't get over this. So this will just insta kill their big dude and or their next hitter, and it's just really cool blowout card basically. Then before this card gets limited to 1, we do run 4 reinforcing memory boosts. This card is really gross, and yeah, getting it restricted to 1 later will really suck, but I can probably adapt it. But this card is really gross. You can just set up like maybe a Machinedramon or a level 5 or something that will just make it so your opponent has to swing in. Really awesome card. Always got to have 4 of this. Really great card. Then we run 3 Holy Waves because, more removal. When hitting security, you just recover it, and then you can just hard play this to pass it to 3 on their turn if they already have a tamer out. 1 Tactical Retreat because we are running 8 security Digimon, and this does come in handy sometimes when it's security. It does heal you, so really awesome card. Then for the last of the removal, we run 3 Iron Fists because this basically kills their biggest dude. 1 Gewalt Swarmer and 1 Ultimate Flare. You may be asking why in a control deck I'm running less of this. Recently, actually, thanks to a friend that actually helped me revamp my security control deck and my other decks, essentially. um he said that this card is actually not really that great in multiples, and honestly I kind of agree because I've had multiple situations where I've had 2 of these in security and they just don't do anything. They just add to my hand and it really sucks. So putting this at 1 is actually a good idea because you have it for the situations when you need it, but at the same time you don't want to always have it. And then with Ultimate Flare, it's also the same issue where some decks actually are a lot of decks are hard playing stuff sometimes. So there's actually no point to Ultimate Flare all the time. It is a really good card, but at the same time, it is an 8 cost card and it can brick your hand. So having these 2 at 1 actually help the deck kind of be a little bit more streamlined and turbo your way into making Machinedramon. And then for the last cards, we're running 4 Izzy and Joes because this card is really awesome. This card just kind of forces your opponent to basically play only 1 guy unless they want to give you more memory. Plus the fact that it works really well with Machinedramon. If he dies, I get to just draw and draw from his destruction after he essentially lives 3 extra times, basically. Really nice card. And then for the last Tamer, we run an Izzy because we do occasionally want to stack our deck and we do want to set our memory to 3. This, of course, will set us to 3 most of the time if your opponent decides to overextend. But when that doesn't happen, Izzy is there for that. But usually this will kind of deter your opponent from overextending, which is really nice. That's basically the deck profile. I know this is kind of different from the normal Machinedramon deck that I had before, but the problem is that the deck is just too slow at the moment. At the moment, it is too slow as a pure build, which is why I've had to mix it with red. I've tried blue. I've tried purple. I'm actually planning to try it with D Brigade soon to see how that works. So look up for that video. But for now, my playstyle, if you can't tell from the other videos from my channel, I do have I do have a variety, but most of the decks, my main 2 decks actually at the moment are Security Control and 3 Musketeers. So having Machinedramon be able to kind of become a control deck actually works better for me because that is my usual play style and I know it the best essentially. So creating this deck actually helps me kind of um, essentially it allows me to play Machinedramon without having to deal with the insane bricks that it can have because it is a black deck and black is notorious for bricking aside from red. So it's just I want the deck to be able to keep itself alive while I build Machinedramon, and the other builds, despite how fast they can't do that. With the control variant that I'm showing here, it gives you at least a chance to stay alive in the game until he comes out. And when he comes out, he will hit hard and he will destroy your opponent. But until then, you have to be able to stall your opponent. And pure does not work. Red, possibly, the other blue, purple, maybe even the yellow variants like this can work. But it's just the control version, honestly, so far I've found is basically the best version at the moment. The previous one that I had done, the red version, does work, as I keep saying. It's just sorry if I'm ranting a bit. It's just or droning on a bit, but it's just that right now I've honestly liked this version the most so far. So I think I'm gonna probably stick with this. I will be modifying and updating this version, but once the new sets come out and we get better support, like the new BT9 stuff and the various cyborgs we get in each set, possibly I will pivot back towards pure, but for now I will be keeping it as a control deck because this is my most comfortable version that I feel can at least maybe top something, maybe even like maybe win locals at least once in a while. But for now, it's just we're sticking with this version. But yeah, thanks for watching. Comment, subscribe, like let me know what you think of this deck, like what variants maybe you have already figured out. But anyway, thanks for watching. I just wanted to get this quick profile out so that I want people to actually succeed with this deck at least in some way. So yeah. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you next time.